100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 1. Freddy. Since this is the first one of these I am doing, let me give a brief explanation. I am going to make a short jingle for every animatronic across every mainline FNAF game. These will be akin to, say, the victory themes for each character in Super Smash Bros. Short and sweet while trying their best to encapsulate the essence of the character. I will give a brief explanation of my thought process for each jingle, and then show it. For Freddy, the Toreador March is simply too iconic to him, so that is the melody for the jingle played on a music box. Of course, there is also a piano and a cello to give it a more orchestral vibe. The FNAF 1 animatronics will probably all have the orchestral vibe, since they are the most basic and not yet run down. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 2. Bonnie. For Bonnie, I wanted to incorporate his guitar since that is one of his defining traits. I started with the notes that play on his correctly tuned guitar during Help Wanted. Other than that, I just tried to make it sound cool. It includes piano and cello for an orchestral feel that all of the FNAF 1 animatronics will have. Motifs like that will likely be implemented among the other sets of animatronics as well, since that gives each game's cast a better sense of identity. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 3. Chica. Chica was the most difficult of the original cast since she doesn't have an obvious instrument to use, thus the melody is on the piano and cello for the orchestral feeling, and percussion was added to sound like pots and pans when Chica is in the kitchen in FNAF 1. I also tried to make the key of the jingle sound Italian to represent pizza, but I don't know how well I really pulled it off. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 4. Foxy. I knew right away that Foxy's jingle would be pirate-themed, so an accordion was necessary. Piano and cello are there too as usual. It is in 3 for time to sound more shanty-like. I also included Foxy's dum-dums since I thought it would be funny. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 5. Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy has the same instruments as regular Freddy, since they're the same animatronic with a different color. I wanted it to sound creepier than any of the previous ones since he is so mysterious. Many of the instruments are also doubled up an octave to represent the possibility of there being 2 spirits inside of Golden Freddy. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 6. Toy Freddy. To start off the toy animatronics, a toy piano is going to be the consistent theme between them. Toy Freddy has chiptune noises for his jingle since he is a #LayEpic gamer. It is also a more annoying theme since he is an annoying animatronic in Ultimate Custom Night. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 7. Toy Bonnie. Toy Bonnie's jingle has 2 different guitars in it. The bass guitar to reference normal Bonnie, and an electric guitar that is purposefully terrible sounding in order to sound like it came from a child's toy speaker. It also has a toy piano since he is a toy animatronic. I also wanted it to have a sort of spring theme, so it is a bit bouncy, and in 3 for time. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 8. Toy Chica. Toy Chica has a reputation, and I wanted to capture that reputation as best I could. There is still toy piano since she is a toy animatronic, but there is also trumpet, alto, to make the jingle more spicy sounding. It is in a swing rhythm to even further capture her reputation. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 9. Mangle. Mangle's jingle was really fun to make, to keep with the lore of being a pull-apart and put-together attraction. There are 5 distinct sections of the jingle. Some are annoying, and some have nice melodies to symbolize kids actually trying to put Mangle back together while others tear them apart. The tempo changes with each section, and there are also glitchy noises since Mangle is so demolished. Their iconic radio static is also present to round it all out. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 10. Balloon Boy. Balloon Boys Jingle was a very simple concept. How can I make this as irritating and annoying as possible? Horrible repetitive chromatic rhythm, non-stop cowbell noises, loud trumpet, and toy piano. I basically just wanted as much 2016 band kid energy as I could get. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 11. JJ. I wanted JJ's jingle to be almost identical to Balloon Boy's save for a few small differences. The reason for this is because she isn't nearly as annoying as Balloon Boy is in FNAF 2. However, she is almost identical in Ultimate Custom Night. The differences are that the melody has a more fun rhythm, and the cowbell now actually matches the melody as opposed to being completely random and horrible. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 12. The Puppet. It was obvious what to do with the puppet's jingle. Use the song that plays when the music box is wound up. Therefore, a music box is the main instrument. There is also harp to represent the fact that the puppet is held up by strings. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 13. Wither Freddy. Wither Freddy, along with all the other withered animatronics, will have a very similar theme. All of the jingles for the original 5 animatronics are reused, but given additional qualities. They all slowly go out of tune, they all slow down, and they all have an extra element to further differentiate them. The piano in all of them is also given a withered effect to sound more run down. For Wither Freddy, I added static noise since I feel like that best represents the blank stare head empty vibe his sprite gives in the FNAF 2 office. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 14, Withered Bonnie. Keeping with the theme of the withered animatronics, the usual out-of-tune and worn-down instruments are present. I also added a buzzing sound to represent his glowing red eyes, since they are a very important feature of his design. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 15, Withered Chica. The rundown and out-of-tune instruments remain the same for Withered Chica. I also added electricity sounds since I think her most iconic feature is the exposed wires where her hands used to be. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 16, Withered Foxy. What a shocker! There are out-of-tune and old-sounding instruments. Withered Foxy also gets the sound of a flashlight flicking on and off since that is his primary game mechanic. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 17, Withered Golden Freddy. The last of the withered animatronics. I had withered Golden Freddy's jingle slow and detune more drastically than the others since he was already quite run down before. There is also some added choir, 2 notes for the 2 souls, and they also detune with the rest of the jingle. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 18. RWQFSFASXC, more commonly known as Shadow Bonnie. I wanted this jingle to be incomprehensible and random just like its name. Every instrument is a synthesized bass, and it flows from one note to the next. I did this since in UCN, the darkness he summons makes the player unable to see anything, and I think it works well. The buzzy bass is there for variety mostly. This is heavily inspired from the Plasm Wraith Chase in Pikmin 3, top 10 favorite game by the way. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 19, Shadow Freddy. There is basically nothing to go off for this guy, so I decided to just use the Toreador March, but in a minor key. The same synth bass from Shadow Bonnie is here too, and I tried to make it as creepy and mysterious sounding as possible since Shadow Freddy is super rare. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 20, Phantom Freddy. To start off the FNAF 3 animatronics, Phantom Freddy is pretty inconspicuous in his debut game. For that reason, I chose to make the jingle fit more with his appearance in Ultimate Custom Night, where he fades in and out of existence. To reflect this, the jingle fades in and out. All of the FNAF 3 animatronics are nasty and moldy looking, and the way I conveyed this is by having what I put in my notes as gloomish-sounding ambience. Strings are present since I feel they best represent a ghost-like apparition since the phantoms aren't real. Finally, creepy organ is used to make the whole thing sound scarier. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 21. Phantom Chica. Phantom Chica has the gloomish atmosphere and ghostly strings that all the phantoms will have. She also has chiptune sounds since she spawns on the arcade cabinet screen in FNAF 3. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 22. Phantom Foxy for Phantom Foxy. I wanted to encapsulate the feeling of just barely seeing something in your peripheral view. I did this by having an organ that has no release, so it feels ethereal and almost fleeting like your vision in FNAF 3. There is of course also the gloomish atmosphere and ghostly strings. I also got some inspiration from music in Return of the Obra Dinn. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 23. Phantom Mangle. The gloomish atmosphere and ghostly strings are present. There is also a synth instrument that has a more calm vibe since Phantom Mangle doesn't jump scare you and instead makes a lot of noise to bother you and alert him. There is also the radio static since that is the noise Phantom Mangle makes. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 24. Phantom Puppet. Phantom Puppet's jingle is almost identical to Phantom Mangle's jingle, since they are the only two phantoms that don't jump scare. They also make very similar noises, with the puppet making beeping and Mangle making radio static. The gloomish atmosphere and haunting strings are still here. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 25. Phantom Balloon Boy. We are 1/4 of the way done for Phantom BB. There is still the gloomish atmosphere and haunting strings. He is also going to be one of the few animatronics I am giving a jump scare-like effect in the jingle, since Phantom BB is one of the most jarring jump scares in the series IMO. There is a timer-like beat in the jingle to represent the time between opening the camera and seeing BB before he gets you. I also added many BB voice lines, since they are so integral to FNAF 3's gameplay. Here it is.
Hello?
100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 26. Springtrap. This is a big one. I wanted to make sure I did right by Springtrap since he is such an iconic character. This jingle is longer than most of the others and has a much more full song-like feel. The gloomish atmosphere and haunting strings are present like with the Phantoms, since Springtrap is still a decayed suit. There is organ to make the jingle feel grandiose and full. There is also a VHS quality instrument being used to represent how Springtrap is kind of like a soul from the past that lived longer than he should have. I put extra effort into this one, so I hope you enjoy it. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 27, Nightmare Freddy. To start FNAF 4, a lot of the Nightmare animatronics will have a dreamlike ambience, since I'm pretty sure they are just imaginary, but IDK the lore on this one is really weird. Nightmare Freddy's jingle has 3 echoes on the main part to symbolize his 3 frettles, and the whole piece is creepy since the Nightmare animatronics are meant to look as scary as possible. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 27, Frettles. The Frettles share a theme with Nightmare Freddy, but instead of the main parts echoing, they form a 3-piece harmony as though all of them are singing together. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 29, Nightmare Bonnie. Nightmare Bonnie's jingle pans almost completely to the left, since he comes to the left door in FNAF 4 and listening is a vital gameplay mechanic. I also included heavy breathing and organ to make it nice and creepy. The melody is played on chimes, since the grandfather clock that plays at 6 a.m. in-game can be seen in the left hallway. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 30, Nightmare Chica. Nightmare Chica has a similar theme to Nightmare Bonnie except it pans almost completely to the right. The melody is a bit more lighthearted since I wanted to represent her cupcake somewhat in the theme. It also has the heavy breathing. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 31, Nightmare Foxy. I wanted Nightmare Foxy's jingle to go progressively from cutesy and lighthearted to eerie and spooky to represent how he changes from a plush to a monster in the closet. I did this by changing the instrument and lowering the pitch every 2 measures. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 32, Nightmare Fredbear. Nightmare Fredbear has an older-sounding jingle, since he is based off one of the first-ever Fazbear characters. There is choir and warbly piano to make it really creepy, and the breathing is loud and pronounced, since he has a massive mouth on his stomach. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 33, Nightmare. Nightmare's jingle is very similar to Nightmare Fredbear's jingle, since they do the same thing in-game. This one, however, only has the breath at the end for a spookier effect. The melody is now constant short notes with no release for a glitchy effect. The choir now goes down instead of fluctuating. And the whole thing was given a static overlay. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 34, Plush Trap. Plush Trap's jingle is just Springtrap's jingle, but with some changes. The gloomish atmosphere is gone, and all of the instruments were changed to be more childlike. Now there is harp, toy piano, and vocal-sounding organ. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 35, Jacko Bonnie." Jacko Bonnie is the most Echo Fighter animatronic to exist IMO, so his theme is quite literally just the same as Nightmare Bonnie's, but sped up significantly, and with fire sound effects added. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 36, Jacko Chica. Jacko Chica is the second most Echo Fighter animatronic to exist IMO, so her theme is quite literally just the same as Nightmare Chica, but sped up significantly, and with fire sound effects added. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 37, Nightmare Mangle. Nightmare Mangle is the third most Echo Fighter animatronic to exist IMO, so their theme is quite literally just the same as Nightmare Foxy, but with added beeping and static. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 39, Nightmarian. Nightmarian's jingle has little melody. What plays causes a glitchy background noise to appear. Most importantly, a warbly bass plays that pans left and right to represent its long tentacles. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 40, Circus Baby." Sister Location is where a lot more unique animatronics begin being introduced. For Circus Baby, I went with a music box ice cream truck jingle to represent her purpose, chanting choir to represent how she talks a lot, and a deep bass to represent her sinister plans. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 41, Ballora." Ballora basically already has a theme in the games, so this one was really easy. It is a waltz since she is a ballerina, and it has music box and glockenspiel for the elegant vibe. The instruments both pan left and right opposite of each other for the whole jingle to represent her mini-game, where you have to hear where she is. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 42, Funtime Freddy." Funtime Freddy in my eyes is very peppy and joyful, so I made his jingle the same way. It has horns for its upbeat nature and a double bass for stability. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 43, Funtime Foxy. I associate Funtime Foxy with old 1920s-esque radio hosts because of their voice in Ultimate Custom Night, so what I did for their jingle was make it sound like it is being played on an old 1920s record. It has horns and honky-tonk piano to represent the time period as well. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 44, Bon Bon. Bon Bon's jingle is very short and simple since he is so small. I used Meow Synth because I just felt like it fit him, and piano since it would feel too empty otherwise. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 45, Bitty Babs. The Bitty Babs are like tiny versions of Circus Baby, so what I did for their jingle was take Circus Baby's jingle, remove the deep bass and choir, and add a synth to give it a little brat vibe. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 46, Mini Renas. The Mini Renas are like mini versions of Ballora, so what I did for their jingle is take Ballora's theme, speed it up, and add a synth to give it a little brat vibe. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 47, Bonnet. Bonnets Theme is almost identical to Bon Bon's theme. The difference is that the piano is an octave higher, and the melody in the Meow Synth has notes that swap places. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 48, Yendo. Yendo is one of the most forgotten animatronics, so I reflected that in his jingle. Since he is just Funtime Freddy without the shell, he has the same theme, but it is slowed down, and all the instruments are pianos since he is so generic. There is also a ton of electric static noise to represent that he is basically just wiring. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic, Day 49, Lolbit. To parallel how Funtime Foxy is like a 1920s radio host, Lolbit to me is like a modern radio host, if that makes sense. The use of LOL in their name implies at least some recency, so what I did for their theme was take Funtime Foxy's jingle and remove the record player effect. I also added 3 typing sounds to represent their gameplay mechanic of having to type LOL. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 50, Ennard, the big halfway mark. How exciting! Ennard's theme was clear in my mind. I wanted to combine elements from the 4 main animatronics into one jingle and include Ennard's leitmotif from the song, At Your 6, from the games. There is Music Box from Circus Baby, Glockenspiel from Ballora, Horns from Funtime Freddy, and Honky Tonk Piano from Funtime Foxy. There is also prominent bass guitar to represent their plan succeeding. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 51, Molton Freddy. Molton Freddy has the parts of Funtime Freddy, Ballora, and Funtime Foxy, so he uses the instruments that they used in their jingles being brass, glockenspiel, and honky tonk piano. The jingle is fast and has quick release to make it sound glitchy, since he is just wires. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 52, Scrap Trap. Scrap Trap uses a goofy version of Springtrap's jingle, since he is a goofier-looking Springtrap. There is also a surprise cameo at the end of the jingle. Here it is.
Blast.
100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 53, Scrap Baby. Since Baby is all alone now after being kicked out of the sister location gang, she only has Music Box in her jingle. I tried to make it more sad than scary, since she is a tragic character. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 54, Lefty. I wanted Lefty to feel hollow, since it is just a tool to catch the puppet, so the jingle uses heavy reverb piano. I also put the puppet's theme in there, but it is slower and echoes more. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 55, Rockstar Freddy. Something I did for all the Rockstar animatronics is have them only use a single instrument for their entire jingle. Rockstar Freddy doesn't have an instrument other than a mic, so while I did use voice lines in his jingle, the main instrument is just piano. Here it is.
Please deposit 5 coins. 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 Please deposit. Please deposit.
Please deposit 5 coins.
100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 56, Rockstar Bonnie. Rockstar Bonnie's only instrument is a bass guitar. There are 3 distinct lines, and they disappear one by one to reference how his guitar goes missing in Ultimate Custom Night. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 57 Rockstar Chica. Rockstar Chica's only instrument is maracas. It was pretty fun making this since it is just percussive noise. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 58 Rockstar Foxy. Rockstar Foxy's only instrument is accordion. The jingle is very jovial since he is more helpful than harmful in Ultimate Custom Night. There are also bird noises since you click on the bird to get his help. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 59. Ned Bear. Starting the mediocre melodies, they will all share the exact same instruments, being a banjo and bass guitar, save for one animatronic who I have something special planned for. It is like this to make these animatronics feel cheap. For Ned Bear, I went with a simple melody and bass line since he is a simple animatronic. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 60. Happy Frog, banjo and bass for all the mediocre melodies. I made Happy Frog's jingle to sound like a swamp level. The special animatronic jingle will be on day 63, so tune in for that one. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 61 Pig Patch, banjo, and bass for all mediocre melodies. I wanted Pig Patch's jingle to sound spaghetti western, and I basically just took a sample from one of my previous songs I made to use as his jingle. 2 Days Remain. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 62 Orville Elephant, banjo and bass for all mediocre melodies. Orville's jingle is magical sounding, since magic is his gimmick. 1 day remains. Here it is. Let's get started. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 64, Funtime Chica. Now we move on to the Posh Pizzeria Trio. Starting with Funtime Chica, I used camera flash sound effects for her jingle to reference her role in Ultimate Custom Night. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 65.
Music Man!
Cymbals, lots and lots of cymbals. Also some pretty neat chords on piano, since they are the foundation of good music to represent Music Man. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 66, El Chip. I wanted El Chip's theme to feel like a mariachi band, so there is guitar, brass, and maracas. I tried to make it Spanish feeling as well. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 67, Helpy. I really wanted to use the instrument that played during the song Legal Woes in FNAF 6, but I couldn't find it, so I just tried to recreate it best I could. The jingle itself is basically just a snippet of the song Legal Woes 2, because it is iconic. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 68, Candy Cadet. For this jingle, I took 5 instruments and made them sound like they were practicing individually before coming together, making the same notes to mirror Candy Cadet's stories of 5 becoming 1. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 69, Trash and the Gang. For tonight's performance, Trash and the gang will be playing themselves. Mr. Hugs on vacuum, Number 1 crate on rubbing a stick against a milk crate, Pan Stan on metal pan, Bucket Bob on metal bucket, and Mr. Can Do on balloon. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 70, Dee Dee. Ultimate Custom Night will be short, as I am only adding adjustable characters that haven't been done yet, as well as Dee Dee, since she is an important part of the game. She sings her own jingle, and it is iconic, and there is some low strings to represent the threat she brings to your game. Here it is.
Uh-oh, how unfortunate. Uh-oh, how unfortunate. I know how much you like to fight, so I'll add a new problem to your night.
100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 71, Old Man Consequences. Old Man Consequences is our main representation from FNAF World. He exists only in this 8-bit form, and as such his jingle is made with the NESVST. I tried to make it sound like a fishing minigame song. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 72, Phone Guy. Since he is an adjustable character in Ultimate Custom Night, he gets to be here. For Phone Guy's jingle, I use the ringing sound and the hello hello from the games, as well as a sequence that sounds like a ringtone. There's a ton of echo to symbolize how you are all alone at Freddy's, and phone guy is your only source of human interaction. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 73, Plush Babies. We're now entering the steel wool era of FNAF games. For the Plush Babies, they use music box like normal baby, and there are 3 lines playing to represent the 3 colors. I also used the melody from FNAF World during the circus maze since I think it just fit their vibe. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 74, Grim Foxy. For Grim Foxy, I have accordion since he is a pirate, and fire sound effects since he is on fire. I also made the jingle fade in and out like he is getting further and closer since his game is in a maze, and he wanders. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 75, Fredbear. I got inspiration from Mad Monster Mansion from Banjo-Kazooie, and I tried to make it Halloween feeling with an organ. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 76, Glitch Trap. For this jingle, I wanted to get a really glitchy effect, and I did that by making the main instrument have 0 release, so when it stopped playing it was instantly gone. There is also static since he is just code. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 77, Glamrock Freddy. Security breach is here. Starting with Glamrock Freddy, I tried to recreate the beginning part of the opening song as best I could with the electric guitar, synth, cymbals, and drums. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 78, Glamrock Chica. Keeping with the electric guitar and synth for the Glamrock animatronics, I tried to make the electric guitar sound like Chica's voice box when fully functional, as well as when she doesn't have it anymore. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 79, Monty. Monty's jingle doesn't sound good. It is 300 BPM and way too many notes playing all at once. I did this for 2 reasons. First, Monty gets by far the most destroyed throughout the game, so I wanted it to sound progressively worse. Second, the ever-layering electric guitar notes are meant to be Monty basically trying to show off that he is cool and able to play all these notes at once even though it sounds bad, since he is also the most overtly antagonistic animatronic. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 80, Roxy. I wanted Roxy's jingle to sound somewhat like a racing game song. I used electric guitar and synth as I did with all the glam rocks. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 81, Staff Bot. I used the same instruments from Helpy's jingle for the Staff Bot because I wanted a similar vibe for them. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 82, Map Bot. It is the same jingle as the Staff Bot, except there is a really loud cymbal crash at the start since Map Bot is a very jarring jump scare. There is also a reverse crash symbol at the end to represent how he just disappears afterwards. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 83, Sun. For Sun's theme I recreated the daycare theme and suited it for a short jingle. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 84, Moon. Moon's jingle is the same as Sun's jingle, but everything is reversed and the pitch is constantly low a ring. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 84, Endos. I waited until security breach to cover the endoskeletons since they play the biggest role here. For the jingle, I have a synth play some notes before stopping instantly, similar to how they stop when you look at them. While they are stopped, it plays click sounds like a timer waiting for you to turn your back. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 86, Mini Music Man. Before I start, I need to get something out of the way. I will not be making a jingle for DJ Music Man. He already has a perfected theme during his chase sequence, and I am not gonna even attempt to replicate its greatness, so go listen to it elsewhere instead. As for Mini Music Man, it used tiny cymbal sounds as well as other little sound effects to make it feel like a wind-up toy. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 87, Vanny. For Vanny's theme, I took Glitch Trap's theme and altered it a bit since she is basically possessed by him. I also added whistling to make it more human since that's what Vanny is. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 88, The Blob. The Blob is a tragic animatronic, and as such I made its jingle tragic too, with sad piano and violin, as well as music box, since that is a consistent instrument for a lot of important animatronics, Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 89. Burn Trap. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? It is Springtrap's theme with a record filter over it and fire sounds. I also make the record spin down to symbolize, hopefully, this being his last appearance. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 90. Eclipse. Now we move on to the Ruin DLC. Starting with Eclipse, I literally just layered Sun and Moon's jingles on top of one another, like an eclipse. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 91. Ruined Monty. Monty has been absolutely destroyed, and as such his already bad jingle gets even worse. The max speed for the tempo is 500 BPM, and the minimum is 5 BPM. It randomly changes tempo, and the pitch tunes randomly too. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 92. Ruin Chica. It is Glamrock Chica's jingle, but it detunes dramatically, and I added a gross organic ambience for her gross organic thingies. Here it is. "100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic." Day 93. Ruined Freddy. It is the same as Glamrock Freddy's jingle with a few differences. It detunes dramatically, and it increases in speed dramatically since he has the most intense chase sequence. I also thought it looked funny the way the cymbal samples would stretch with the tempo. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 94. Ruined Roxy. Ruined Roxy's jingle doesn't become as messy as the others because she isn't as destroyed. She gets a more emotional story here, and as such I made her jingle the same as original Roxy's but sadder, and replaced the synth with piano. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 95. The Entity. I gave the Entity a loud electrical buzz and a lot of clipping noises to symbolize the way he teleports closer to you in the mask world. There is also a square wave since he is a digital thing. Here it is. 100 days of making a jingle for every FNAF animatronic. Day 96. Jacko Moon. It's the daycare theme with fire, and the tunes. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 97. Ruin DJ Music Man. This jingle was really easy to make. What I did was basically just play his Help Wanted to minigame and put 5 sequences together to make something that sounds decent. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 98. Carney. The Carney is the heckler in the Phaser Blast levels in Help Wanted 2. I made his jingle the funny circus song. Here it is. "100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic." Day 99. Mystic Hippo. We are almost there. For Mystic Hippo's jingle, I used the beginning part of Mr. Hippo's jingle and added the mediocre melody's signature banjo in a somewhat magical way reminiscent of how I used it for Orville Elephant. Here it is. 100 Days of Making a Jingle for Every FNAF Animatronic. Day 100. Finale. The Mimic. Here it is, the final jingle. I saved the Mimic for last even though it went slightly out of order from the games, because I think the Mimic is shaping up to be one of the major villains for future games. Also, if everything went according to plan, this should come out on my birthday. This is another full-length song, akin to Mr. Hippo's jingle, since I wanted this final jingle to be spectacular. I tried very hard to make this jingle represent the Mimic, and here is how. Many of the instruments I used reference a different animatronic in some way. I did this because the whole point of the Mimic is that it can copy anything. The other thing I did was include leitmotifs from various important animatronics that I will show during the song. The main instrument in the melody is electric guitar to represent all the security breach animatronics, since that is where the Mimic is first encountered. The counter line uses the same instrument as the Sun and Moon jingles, since the Mimic's design resembles them a lot, specifically with its teeth. The instrument used for the motifs was a music box, since it represents so many important animatronics. The song starts and ends with a rising choir representing how the Mimic can emulate human speech. There is also bass guitar and percussion to make it more complete. I am very excited for you to hear it. I will also post a version without this long intro later for easier listening. Here it is.